Focusing only on ACoS can mislead your Amazon PPC strategy. In this video, discover why prioritizing profit margin is vital for your PPC campaigns. Also, learn how to choose the best product variations to advertise, effective bid management, and also the importance of regular keyword optimization. If you need expert help with Amazon PPC advertising, check the M19 tool. Below you'll find the link, and maybe it will help you to automate your Amazon advertising campaigns.
Hello, Tarik. Thank you for joining me here today to talk about some of the good tips that sellers could use to keep their total advertising cost of sale under control. So yes, we're not talking about ACoS today, but we're talking about TACoS instead. But before we go into it, could you first introduce yourself and also let us know what M19 is and what do you do?
Yeah, perfect. So thanks, Lisette, for having me. So I'm Tarik, one of the co-founders of M19 and CEO. So M19, it's an ads automation platform that is using all the retail data. So it's not only based on ads data, but we think that the best ads management, automation, and optimization shouldn't rely only on ads data, but it should rely as well and should be aware of profit analytics data, inventory data, SEO data, market data, listing data, etc., etc. So yeah, M19 is the platform that is helping sellers do that in an efficient way that makes them able to scale and to optimize all their ad spend. I will be presenting why we should be focusing on TACoS or profit margin. I will not only make it TACoS, but when we say TACoS, it should be also margin over ACoS. Why it's always better to do it this way. Some tips for reducing the TACoS as well. And as usual, we'll end up with question if you have, of course, Lisette. All right. Sorry, I already had a slide for it. I didn't share with you my background. So I have an engineering background. I used to work in machine learning for more than 10 years ago in the ad space. And I joined the Amazon ad space ecosystem 5 years ago in M19 as a co-founder. And I already presented M19. We are this retail-aware ads optimization software, this fancy phrase that I explained. We are the winner of the PPC Automation League of 2023 of this year by David Zimmerman, who reviewed 40 or 50 different software all over the world, and on dozens and dozens of criteria. He had some scores to differentiate between the tools, and we were the happy winners of this league. And we are the one of the few Amazon Advanced partner. So this is the badge you get when you are in the preferred, because preferred is a badge, and then you have the advanced. So we are an advanced Amazon partner as well. All right. So why we are talking about this topic? Why we should focus on profit margin over ACoS and PPC? First, let's try to understand the true impact of PPC on profit. To do that, we need to make sure that all costs are well recorded. By that I mean not only sponsored products. We need to take into account sponsored brands, sponsored display, and depending on the case and the size, you need to take into account DSP. Second one that is important is the cost attribution model for sponsored brand. So as you know, sponsored brand is a specific format where sometimes you need to choose 3 products to be showcased next to a headline photo or whatever. So you need to have a way to attribute the cost and the sale that you get from it to a single ASIN. Because all what we will be doing is always ASIN specific or parent ASIN specific. So you need to break down this cost or use at least a software that is doing that properly. And the last one that I saw a lot, it's a big problem, is people are using some new versions of, or last recent version of sponsored display that are VCPM based, like that not are on the click, cost per click, but are on cost per 1,000 impressions. So we need also to make sure that the cost of these recent type of campaigns are also included. This is just a screenshot from one of our reportings where I showcase that for each parent, each variation. So the first line, white, is the parent. So you are able to see margin, TACoS, total sales, and ACoS. And you have also the breakdown by child ASIN, either margin, TACoS, and ACoS. In the next slide, you will go deeper into that. So there are a lot of discussions about, should I look at ACoS or TACoS? Should I look at TACoS or margin? Let me show you some example, and I will give you my opinion. In the screenshot on the right, so these are variations. So let's forget about parent grouping. Variation 1, variation 2. As you can see in the variation 2, we have a healthy, like a normal product, which means that you have TACoS compared to margin. Margin, of course, is lower than TACoS, as you can see here. ACoS to TACoS, why it's green? ACoS to TACoS is normal. In theory, you should have ACoS that is higher than your total ACoS, because in total ACoS, you take into account not only sponsored sales, but you take into account also the organic sales. This is why, in theory, it should be smaller. But the weird thing is, as you can see, the TACoS on product 2 is higher than product 4. And even with that, you see that margin is better on product 2. So this is the nuance why I spotted this example. ACoS versus TACoS is normal. TACoS versus margin is misleading here. You might expect to have better margins on products where your TACoS is low. Usually, why is that? Is first, your different products, they don't have the same cost of goods, they don't have the same returns, and they don't have the same FBA costs. So if you have a bigger product with higher FBA costs or higher returns or whatever, you need to have smaller to afford, not to afford, to achieve a smaller TACoS to maintain the same margin as the other product. And this is the example showing that, hey, be careful. It's not a small TACoS that will give you a better margin.
So basically, this kind of explains what was one of my questions I got in my head, is that, you know, often when we do webinars or something, sellers ask like, okay, but what's kind of like the perfect TACoS I should go after? But it's kind of subjective. You can't tell me like what's a good TACoS, because you don't know any of the product details whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly. And even if you know it, inside the same brand or catalog, you see that it's not the same thing, because it's very dependent on what is the margin, what are the other costs outside advertising that are happening on product level. And here you see that it's fine to go for 15 TACoS on product 2 and it has more sales and a higher profit margin than product 4. So yeah, exactly. You can never give this number. You can never come up with like what is a good TACoS. A good TACoS, it will depend not only on your brand or your category, but it will depend on your cost structure per product. And this is what the example is showing here. The product number 5 is showing something. The main reason why ACoS can be also very misleading. This is real data. This is extracted from a real account. And we see a TACoS that is higher. Why is that?
Yeah, I already wanted to answer. So do they have more PPC, like the ratio of PPC sales and organic sales is off?
So here, if you look at the ratio, it will be higher than 100%.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at sponsored sales, and you see it, sponsored sales is 4,000 and total sales is 3,600, which means why? Why is that? Because ad sales, when Amazon is reporting sponsored sales, it's not sponsored sales that are happening on product 5. It's not all sponsor. When product 5 is promoted, it will generate sales for product 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And all the sales that are generated for products 1, 2, 3, 4 from promoting product 5, they will count as ad sales, ad sponsored sales in this 4,000. It's because of the Amazon sales attribution. And when you look at sales, like the first column that is 3,600, here it only counts real sales that are happening for product 5. So whenever you have a product that you promote, like here, and it generates sales for other products, so here we promote it and it generates here in the total sales for 1, 2, 3, 4, you might end up in this situation of having a TACoS that is higher than ACoS. And this is the main problem while looking at while steering with TACoS.
But regarding to the attribution, how do you know that, for example, in this case, let's say we have 5 variations next to each other under one parent. Do we get any detailed information about the attribution that, for example, that the 5 really counted for sales of all of the first 4 variations? Or maybe it is just like a bad variation in terms of like how it performs?
To do that, my recommendation is to look at another metric that is total conversion rate, and we'll discuss it at the end. So you can look at total conversion rates per variation, which means you look at all the sessions that are happening on a product page and compare it to sales that are happening for this variation, and you see how well or how much of people that are checking this page are in reality buying this product. It will give you an idea about how a variation is doing compared to the other within the parent group. And yes, you started what I was going to talk about is one key thing here. If you want to better control advertising of using TACoS and profit and not ACoS, is you need to measure at parent ASIN or at category level. Sometimes you promote one parent and it's another parent that's getting the sale, and you will still have this issue of you invest somewhere and you get the returns elsewhere. And to properly see if your investment is worth it, you need to group this somewhere and elsewhere under the same umbrella and see what's the return on ad spend in this new umbrella. This is what I refer to as the need for parent ASIN or category level measurement. It might seem exotic as phrasing, but it's just a grouping. You should, like I went back to my slide before, you need to be able to group either by parent ASIN like this. You have one parent and you have all the data, and you have the breakdown by variation, or you do it at category level. You have a category and the different variations or the different parents within the category. And at this level, you can see what is your investment and your TACoS, is it good or not, and if you should take actions or not on your advertising. So when you are able to measure at this level, so the PPC steering and budgeting needs to be done then based on profit margin. So at your parent ASIN, when you check like this, what's your margin? Is it acceptable or not? Then you need to push or reduce your PPC if you have the right margin figure at this level, and which is pretty basic. Push harder, invest more on parents with higher margin, and reduce or invest less on parents with weaker margins, if your target is to optimize for margin. If your goal is different, you are in a launch period or you want just to get rid of inventory, whatever, just forget about this reasoning. Here, I'm making the assumption that your goal is to optimize margin. To optimize margin, you need to make sure that you are not doing it at the variation level, but at an aggregated level. At aggregated level, like here, parent ASIN or category, increase or decrease, push or decrease budgets and bids based on just the margin of this level. So first one is regarding the variation selection. One of your question is how you detect a variation is doing good or bad. So it's as simple as looking at the total conversion rate that I explained earlier. So just basically total sales divided by total sessions for each variation, and not looking at PPC conversion rate. Because when we say conversion rate, most of people think of, mainly when we are talking about PPC, they think of PPC conversion rate, that is number of sponsored sales over sponsored clicks. This is usually very misleading because of the sponsored sales attribution issue that we discussed earlier. So between different variation, look at total conversion rate and focus or only promote the variations with the higher total conversion rate. So if you have 5 colors, pick the 1, 2, maximum 3 colors with the highest conversion rate and promote only these. Because otherwise, if you promote the less converting color, you will pay higher for a sale that will happen on the other color. So it's not very optimal. Second one is try to promote and push mainly ASINs that are generating sales for the same SKU. This data, you can have it also in tools or directly in Amazon sponsored reports. So you can get not only sponsored sales, but sponsored sales to the same SKU, which means you promoted one ASIN and the sale happened for this exact ASIN. So these are the ASINs that you want to promote the most or to keep promoting. The ones where you have same SKU sponsored sales are very low compared to sponsored sales. It means that sales are happening elsewhere. So these ASINs, you don't want to promote them. So second tip is how it's a selection criteria that you do based on same SKU sponsored sales. This you can get on Amazon sponsored products reports that you can get directly on the advertising console. One also easy tip is to always, very simple, always reduce. If you reduce bids on campaigns that are running out of budget before the end of the day, it will improve your margin or TACoS. Why? Because when you run out of budget, it means that all the cheaper sales that you might get afterwards, you won't get them, because before running out of budget, you got cheap and expensive sale. So by reducing the bids, you will, before the theoretical hour where you run out of budget, you will get only the cheap sales. You keep your budget to get the other cheap sales for the rest of the day. So you will end up getting beginning of the day cheap sales, end of the day cheap sales, instead of beginning of the day cheap sales and expensive sales. So this will improve your TACoS and margin. Second one regarding bid management is just look at keywords where your bid is very close to your CPC. As soon as you see a bid, by the way, bid is different from CPC. CPC is what you pay. The bid is what you set on the advertising console. As soon as the CPC is very close to the bid, it means that there is a lot of competition. So there you have different options. So either you say, okay, there's a lot of competition, I accept to spend slightly more, and since there's a lot of competition, by increasing my bid slightly, I will get a lot of positions. Or there is a lot of competition, I don't want to compete there because I know that it's costly because of this competition. If you want just to improve and optimize for margin, you need to be decreasing. If you want to look for growth, these areas where competition is high that you measure with the difference between bid and CPC, increase instead. You might hurt your margin, but you might grow your top line, your total sales. The last one is keyword list optimization. So another easy one. Look at your keywords. Just focus on exact or phrase or both. All the misspellings, something I saw a lot is people are targeting all the variations and all the misspellings to make sure that they cover everything. This is completely bad and wrong. Why? Because if you target red shoe, red shoes, red shoe misspelled, Amazon knows that all these variations and all this misspelling are for red shoe or red shoes. So already Amazon is, if you target red shoe, you will be displayed and eligible for red shoes at the misspelling of red shoe. So when you multiply these different variations and misspellings for the same query, you are creating a lot of artificial internal competition inside your own account. So you will increase your cost. Keep in mind that Amazon is already doing this work. Just go for one variation, one representative of a search intent, red shoe. Amazon will take care of, even in exact, Amazon will take care of red shoes, red shoe in misspelled, and your outcome in terms of spend will be lower, and this will increase and improve your TACoS. What do you think, Lisette? Useful tips or not?
Yeah, I wanted to say, I started now thinking about the very last one. No, all of the tips were good, but the very last one, I think that is something to kind of, think about, digest a bit, and then maybe a lot of sellers who are watching us have to go do their advertising console. Yeah, it's easy, but it's a good reminder, I think. I think some sellers might miss that point, so thanks for bringing that up as well.
Yeah, you're welcome. So I tried to come up with something that is pretty actionable just after the video. Doesn't require a lot of, I don't know, tools or crazy automation or whatever.
Yeah, that's great, and thanks for thinking for that as well. Cool. So I saw that's kind of the last slide for us for today as well, and maybe you, as you finish the presentation with the tips on how to improve TACoS, I wanted to ask you: is it possible to have too good of a TACoS, and could it be somehow bad for the sellers?
Yes. When you have a too good TACoS, it means that you are leaving some room for growth. So if you have a 1 or 2% TACoS, unless you are Unilever or I don't know what super famous brand, it means that you are leaving a lot of room for competition. I don't know what the very low TACoS, but anything that is, I would say, below 5% in TACoS, or even 6, 7, for me is pretty low, and you should consider a more aggressive PPC, either with higher bids or a broader targeting, going for more targets in terms of search terms or competitor ASINs to go for, to explore if with higher TACoS, yes, you might decrease your margin, but the total profit might be higher if the top lines grow higher than the reduced in margin that you create. So yeah, below 5%, I would consider a more aggressive advertising strategy.
Okay, so that's also a good reminder for those sellers who have been maybe having a very good tacos and then they're just, you know, sitting there enjoying a vacation or something, they should also go back to the advertising console and maybe review their strategy a bit, right?
But by the way, it's very easy to have a very low TACoS. You just need to stop PPC. You will have the best TACoS.
Yeah, but for those, yeah, I mainly meant for those who are still advertising, but that's a good point as well.
And also
well,
for the ones that advertise, you just need to bid 5 cents everywhere, or just one auto campaign 5 cents, and you will have a crazy good TACoS, but you will lose a lot of opportunities.
Well, thanks so much for the interesting discussion. It's always very interesting to listen to you. And yeah, before we log off for today, maybe can you once more give us an overview what M19 is and what kind of software or solution you offer for sellers? So for everybody who enjoyed today's video or other videos we have on our channel with you, they could go to your website and explore a little bit more about it.
Yeah, so M19 is basically an automation tool that is used by sellers and agencies of all sizes. We developed an offer where small sellers that are starting or in the beginning of their journey that have a couple of, I recommend you need to have a couple of hundreds of thousands before considering M19 because it's heavily data driven with a lot of analytics. So it requires a minimum of kind of expertise, or yeah, you need to be sensitive to data to take the full advantage of it. So small sellers, it's free. So ads automation optimization on top of all the reporting. Reporting, we don't only do ads reporting, it's also profit analytics, inventory, keyword rankings, share of voice, etc., etc. And our philosophy is whatever you use to automate or manage your PPC, you need to have, and your PPC need to be aware of your inventory, your profit margin, your SEO, etc., etc. All this communicates. You change your title, it might improve your PPC conversion rate or whatever, and you need to be able to see that wherever you look at your conversion rate over time, PPC conversion rate or sponsored sales or total sales, you need to see that something happened on your listing, that I don't know, you lost you are not anymore 3 stars, 4.3 stars, you are 4.2, so you drop from the 4.5 stars to 4. You need to see it wherever you are checking your KPIs, because it might explain why something dropped, and you might lose just some time to say, okay, what did I do in PPC that implied this drop or this increase? But in reality, it's something that is outside of your control, like a variation change, a variation running out of budget, a title, blah, 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 blah. These are just examples to showcase the importance of having all the picture, to have the proper Amazon advertising in place, to steer it, to measure it, and to monitor it every day. And M19 is the platform that is providing that in a simplified and free way for small sellers, and in a half free way for big sellers and agencies. By half, I mean all the reporting, dashboarding, and tools are free. Ads, automation, and optimization. This is the paid solution we provide.
Okay, yeah, so everyone who is interested, you can click on the link in the video description to learn more about M19. And yeah, as I said before, I'm really happy to see you again. And thanks for sharing the knowledge with our viewers. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you, Lisette. Have a good day.
I hope you enjoyed this video. It will give you some good insights on how you can improve your Amazon PPC advertising. And if you need help to optimize and automate this process, check the M19 tool below in the description. You'll find the link, so check this out. And if you like the content we create, don't forget to click like below this player and also subscribe to our channel. If you have any additional follow-up questions, use the comment section below. And now I would like to invite you to watch other video which will help you to understand how you can fix your Amazon PPC product targeting and advertising bidding.